Cheerio, bonjour, hello. Okay, Cherlyn Cadles book. Oh my goodness, this might take me a while. There's so many things I want to write down, and I say, well, that's just not good enough. But I really would like to read the book and tell you my opinions after each few sentences. There's a creator, Kimberly, Ley. I liked her in the beginning, but then she started, too many name callings. That dumb Chris, and she called him more than dumb, but she never acknowledged any of the faults that Shannon had. And I finally just turned her off. Okay, so Shannon earned a living selling Thrive. Oh, I had a hard time writing that well, not laughing. But earlier in the book, Cherlyn Cadles talks about she wanted to be like one of the famous American true crime writers, Truman Capote. Now, I realize that's not her fault. It's the person she chose to read her book because I'm listening to it. But right there, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't know it's Truman Capote? Oh my goodness, you have a moron reading your book. But Shannon earned a living selling Thrive. No, she did not. The reason that she couldn't support herself and 3 kids in Colorado without Chris was because she didn't make any money. She needed his paycheck to continue to purchase her Thrive. And you don't get 30 grand a Thrive in your basement because you're making that much money. You get it because you're buying that Thrive so that you can continue to get your car bonus and your other bonuses. You're creating fake accounts, fake new people. Anyway, okay, so Chris says, because of the Colorado air, we moved there because it made Shannon not have to take medicine for lupus. Have you ever heard of a person who had a disease and moved to a different part of the country and all of a sudden their disease was solved? Okay, yes, in some cases with asthma and things like that, they can get to cleaner air, but not lupus. I mean, come on. My guess is, I've already told you, she had to move him to Colorado because she had to alienate him from his family. She'd already gone through all the doctors in the Pinehurst area. She gets to start fresh in Colorado. And she can't find any doctors in Colorado to scam to say, yes, you have lupus. To me, that's all that was. She scammed those EpiPens, though. I get many comments on that. She scammed those. The EpiPens were never, ever used once. And I spent 25 minutes looking that up. Never saw it. So then he talks about all the free trips that Shannon earned in Thrive. No, she didn't. Okay, you guys may remember, I worked for Merrill Lynch for 12 years. I went on lots of trips. What happens is the travel agency part of Merrill Lynch calls you, and they get your complete legal name and your spouse's complete legal name for the airline tickets. And then you say, okay, thanks, I'll wait for the envelope. And you hang up. And then a few days later, you get this Inner Alphas package in it. It has your entire itinerary in it. Your hotel, everything. The car service. My first marriage, we had an unusual last name. And we're walking off of an airplane once. And there's the dude standing there with the sign with our name on it. And my husband leans over and he goes, look at that. There's another person with that name on the plane. I was like, no, dumbass, that's us. But remember, even that last trip she took, Chris had to take a day off work. So that cost money. She got a hotel and she shared it with Nicole Atkinson. 2 nights, that cost money. These aren't free trips. And why couldn't she have flown out to Arizona that evening when Chris got off work? And then he wouldn't have had to take a vacation day. And then there's just that much more money they save. Because Shannon did not live her life for her family. She lived her life for herself. And that's just reality. You know why you guys all know why she had to go to North Carolina for 5 weeks. Because who's going to parent the children? She deals with them in the morning. And then, my goodness, by 7:30, they are at Primrose. In the afternoon, Chris deals with them. She doesn't deal with anything. He gets home, he makes them butter noodles for dinner. They don't sit down and have a real... I point to our kitchen table. We sit down every night and have a family dinner. It's very important. They didn't do that. They fed the girls first, drugged them up, stuck them in those rooms with the room darkening curtains, and at 6:30 in July, those girls were in bed. Like, it makes me sick to my stomach. Do you guys think that she was going to tell Amanda to drug her kids up? Because remember, they were going on that Aspen trip the next weekend that they most definitely could afford. And you know her nails were going to be perfect for that. And you know they could definitely afford her nails too. Do you think she was actually going to tell Amanda Thayer, make sure you drug my kids up at 6:30 at night? And here's something else. So you're going away and you have a friend that's willing to watch your children. You know Amanda said, let them stay at my house. Because, oh my goodness, that's so much easier. But, no. She was making Amanda come to her house. Goodness. Chris makes a big deal in his letters to Cherlyn that the affair was not Shannon's fault at all. Okay, I kind of guess, but no, it was. Because, dude, you lived in a world for 8 years where your opinion didn't matter. You guys got into a fight 1 year into your relationship. She kicked you out, and the next morning when you tried to come back, she said, you're not coming into this house till you apologize. And he says, from that moment on, I knew not to test her. I was not going to second guess what she said. He finally met NK, who said, how was your day? Oh, really? And what movie would you like to go see? And where would you like to go to dinner? He wasn't used to that. He wasn't used to being allowed to have an opinion or allowed to hang something up on the wall without questioning. Now that, I kind of get that. I don't want Sal hanging something up on the wall without me asking. But he was making a point with that, and I completely get his point. NK, all she did, she validated his masculinity. She reminded him that he's a man. You know, maybe I'm very, very old-fashioned, but in my world, your man is in charge of the home. The man provides your home. Ultimately, it's his say. And look, you guys can do whatever you want. In my world, that's how I do it. Do you guys... Oh, one last thing about that. When a man cheats on a woman and these girls go after the chick, why? That girl didn't make a commitment to anyone. Why are women upset with the other woman? You'd be upset with your man. Your man is the one that made the commitment with you. That woman made zero commitment. Goodness. To me, that's just something I've never, ever understood. So, you guys remember that he went and he got to spend that last Sunday with his parents and Jamie and her husband and the niece and nephew. And he told Jamie that day that he had a feeling that Shannon was going to kill him. You know why he did that? It was in his head. Okay, so I've already said I'm not sure if he planned it. He was planning it. Maybe my thing is I'm not sure that he knew when it was going to happen. And then that moment she said, you're never going to see the kids again. Well, that triggered him. He's doing it at that point. But Jamie made him write it down so that if he were murdered, she could take that piece of paper to the cops and say, hey, look. My brother said that his wife was going to kill him. I find that funny. Good for you, Jamie. God bless you. And you know that there were terrible, terrible storms in North Carolina that night. And he said to Shannon, hey, look, I'm going to come home in the morning. They're 30 minutes away from each other. And she freaked out. She's like, no, I'm getting in the car coming right now. We leave tomorrow. We have to pack. They left at 7 p.m. tomorrow. They had all day to pack. She did not want him to be in an environment where he was allowed to think for himself. And when he's at mom and dad's, he gets to think for himself. My goodness, she was very, very threatened by this. This woman was very insecure. And to me, that's part of what the Facebook world feeds. So she was insecure. So to make herself feel better, she had to go and post everything to tell him how great her life was. When almost every word she was saying was just a simple lie. You know that engagement party that Shannon had for her second wedding. Maybe again, I'm old-fashioned. Your second wedding, I don't believe that you deserve all the bells and whistles. You got that with your first wedding. She invited 80 people to that engagement party. I don't think she knows 80 people. I mean, she knows 80 people because she's trying to sell to them. But do you think there were 80 people who genuinely cared about Shannon? No. And I don't think she genuinely cared about anyone but herself. She's getting people to sign up for Thrive, knowing it's going to cost them $300 a month. She doesn't care. $300 a month, that's a lot. That's almost a car payment. You know, my car payment's a little more than about $420. $300 a month to stick a sticker on you and take some vitamins and then drink something out of a blender bottle. Oh my goodness. I hope that you get that blender bottle for free. If anyone's on Thrive, you probably don't have the balls to comment. But if you are on Thrive, comment below. Do they send you the free blender bottle? My goodness. Here's something I found interesting. Did you know that Shannon's mom refuses to comment on Nutgate? So I heard that in the book, and I spent a couple minutes on DuckDuckGo, because I don't use Google. And I couldn't find that she's made any comments since then. And I'll tell you why she didn't comment. Because she knew her daughter was in the wrong. And she knew her daughter was effing psychotic. Where's the pictures of all these bowls of nuts and razor blades? This woman posted her entire life online. This is really gross. I can't believe she didn't put pictures of her tampons on there. She would have had pictures of razor blades and nuts everywhere. Goodness. But there's a reason that Mrs. Ruzick won't comment on that. From what I understand, Shannon was nuts too. And Cindy Watts was standing at the back of the hallway and Shannon charged her. And Cindy moved so that Shannon would have missed her. That's legally an assault. Shannon's lucky Cindy didn't have her arrested. Did you guys also know that the Watts spent $350 on food that weekend that she arrived so they could have all the food appropriate things in that house? Meanwhile, you go to Shannon's house, there's fucking peanut butter on the second shelf. Oh, it's organized. It's in the right LPQ, in the right order. But it's right there where everybody can get it. If not for double standards, Shannon Watts would have no standards at all. Sandy Ruzick hated her mother-in-law. And apparently there's a comment. Shannon says this. This is not in the book. I said Shannon. Sandy says this. That she pretty much, from when Shannon was a little girl, explained to her that your relationship with your mother-in-law is going to be very difficult. Okay, so she implanted that in Shannon's head from when she was a kid. So Shannon walked into this relationship knowing she was not going to like her mother-in-law. And my goodness, she did a great job with all her gaslighting and getting him away from him. Shannon says at one point, Jamie is the light of your parents' eyes. They hated you. Why would you say that to someone you love? If she honestly believed that, you wouldn't say that to him. You would do everything you can to make sure he doesn't notice that. Why? Because you love him and you want him to feel good. You want him to love the family. I don't understand the alienation of the family. Nope, you can't speak to them again. What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, goodness. Okay, here's my last thing. I'm going to shut up. So, you guys remember, Cindy did 1 or 2 interviews. She does one interview where she's wearing a t-shirt. It's a reddish t-shirt. She did a t-shirt. Cindy, put a nice sweater on, or at least an Oxford or something. You're going on television, and you're wearing a long-sleeve t-shirt. Come on, Cindy. You guys have to remember, the last time the Watts family heard from Chris was that Wednesday night in the interrogation room, when Chris looked at Dad and said, Shannon killed them, and then I killed her because of that. Chris obeyed his attorneys and did not have any contact with anyone. He did not speak about the case. I've told you guys about this case, Mike Dunn. I'm going to cover this case. This dude, Mike Dunn, was just a racist. He pulled into a gas station. There was a carload of 4 black teenagers next to him, and they were jamming their tunes, and he didn't like it. He got pissy, and he shot into him, and he murdered a kid, Jordan Davis. He flat out murdered him. But in the 15 months he was being held in jail, waiting his trial, he wrote lots of letters. He wrote letters to person A and person B and person C. And what do you know? He told 3 different stories in those letters. And he's on the phone calling. At one time he's in solitary. He's like, well, it's better than being in a room with thugs. Hello, Mike Dunn, you're stereotyping all black people. That's all it is. But in the trial, the prosecutor's like, and what about in this letter when you say this? And Mike's like, well, I didn't know you were going to be reading my letters, but I'm glad you did because you know how I felt. Okay, Chris did what he's supposed to do. In that case, he should have never gone without an attorney. And again, they had no forensic evidence. They may not have been able to bust him. He could say, somebody set me up. They knew I worked out there. They got lucky that they picked Serby 319. He had lots. There was nothing to tie him to that murder. He should never have spoken to an attorney. I mean, I'm glad he did. He's where he's supposed to be. But the Watts family did interviews, and they believed their son. So everything they said in those interviews were because they believed everything Chris had said to them. Don't fault them for that. I don't understand why anyone faults them at all. They did not create this child to do this. Goodness. Okay. If you're still watching, I'm shocked. Hit like, hit subscribe, give me your feed below. God bless America.